Many Japanese people study English for 6 years through junior and senior high school. Yet, why so many still struggle with it and find even simple conversation difficult? As globalization increases the importance of English worldwide, many Japanese people still feel a sense of inadequacy and, at the same time, a certain longing for the language. In this video, drawing from my own English learning experience, we'll explore the surprising cultural and systemic reasons why so many Japanese people struggle with English. You might be surprised by what we uncover. Hello and welcome to Shimba channel, where we dive into the fascinating culture of Japan. I am a Japanese native speaker and beginning English learner, and I'm Kuma. Before we get started, just a quick note. I've also prepared a Japanese voice track and subtitles for this video. So if you are studying Japanese, be sure to check out that version too. Alright, let's jump right in. First, let's look at English from the perspective of Japanese education. When I was a student, English classes officially began in junior high, so I had a total of 6 years, 3 years in junior high, and 3 years in high school. English was also a required first foreign language for the first 2 years of university, making it a total of 8 years of classes. Currently, English studies are reportedly introduced as a subject starting from the upper grades of elementary school. So it seems that the students are beginning their English learning even earlier than when I was a student. In Japan, English is also one of the most important subjects. It's required for high school and university entrance exams, so many students who hope to advance to higher education study English diligently. For these reasons, most Japanese people study English in school for at least several years during compulsory education. Furthermore, many university students experience at least 6 years of English classes in school, plus self-study for entrance exams. Despite spending so much time learning English, why do so many Japanese people still have a sense of inadequacy toward it? And why can't many even hold simple conversation in English? Let's consider the reasons. First, one major reason is the lack of opportunities of practical use of English in Japanese English education. I personally took English classes for about 8 years, from junior high through university, but even then, I could barely speak or listen to English. Things might have changed now, but when I was a student, school English mainly focused on grammar and reading comprehension of long passages. There were hardly any listening or speaking classes. Because of this, the English questions on high school and university entrance exams were also mostly grammar problems and reading comprehension questions. There was no need to study listening or speaking for exams. Listening tests did exist, but in most cases, they didn't have a very significant weighting. As a result, many diligent people from school English classes find themselves in a state where they can read English, but can't speak or listen to it. Secondly, once we leave the educational environment, the need for English significantly decreases. In Japan, if we were working and living normally, English is hardly used at all. Of course, some people use it for career advancement or work, but they are a very limited percentage of the overall Japanese population. Even today, with increasing opportunities to interact with foreigners in Japan and the growing need to look overseas due to Japan's sluggish economy, English remains largely unnecessary for most Japanese people in their daily lives. Therefore, because there are almost no opportunities to practice English in both school and daily life in Japan. It is natural that many people can't speak English or have a sense of inadequacy toward it. Furthermore, even if they do get opportunities to practice, many might not proactively speak English. In Japan, when people imagine someone who can speak English, they tend to picture someone who is fluent, almost like a native speaker, with no difficulties. This might be heavily influenced by elite characters in dramas and manga. I often feel that many people are afraid of speaking broken English or making grammatical mistakes, which prevents them from practicing much. As a final reason, English is fundamentally a difficult language for Japanese speakers. Looking at the various sources, English is a relatively difficult language for Japanese people to acquire, requiring thousands of hours of study. This suggests that school education alone is far from sufficient. Continued learning is necessary for acquisition. The same might be true for English speakers finding Japanese difficult and time consuming to acquire. Personally, I'm currently studying English for TOEFL and I'm really struggling. I find it hard to improve my listening skills, and I'm also having a lot of trouble with pronunciation. So far, we've considered why Japanese people are struggling with English. Next, let's look at the perception and positioning of English in Japanese society. As mentioned above, there are very few situations in Japanese society that require English, and most ordinary people live a life unrelated to English. Among those who do need English are people working with overseas companies or in foreign affiliated companies, often in relatively high paying jobs with some connection to overseas. In such a situation, people who can speak English are generally regarded as highly capable. Many Japanese people seem to have a certain longing for English, viewing it as a status symbol. Even if English isn't used in one's daily life, people might want to learn it or become proficient for the reasons mentioned above. However, due to difficulty of English acquisition for Japanese speakers, it's not uncommon for them to quit without much progress. In this video, I mainly explained why Japanese people struggle with English and what the perception and the status of English speakers are in Japanese society. Personally, I still think Japanese people tend to struggle with English. However, perhaps it is because I've started learning English myself, but I also have the impression that the number of people who are proficient in English has increased recently. Thank you for watching my video today. I hope you find the information helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Your feedback is invaluable as I continue to create content. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos. Goodbye.